Hey there everybody, we are going to be making another video on the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. Now obviously, I have already seen it, and if you haven't, this video is not for you. Do not watch this video if you have not seen the movie yet. But for those of you that have seen the movie, just know that we will be going over a few things that I liked and a few things that I did not like, and if you cannot take a little bit of a pry, maybe something that you don't agree with, then maybe this video isn't for you either, because this is a movie. People will have opinions, and if you cannot handle a negative opinion about something you like, then you need to do a little bit of growing up and maybe learn a little bit of a thing known as tolerance, because that is a big part of being an adult. Now, just to get this out here, I did like the movie. I am a Five Nights at Freddy's fan myself. Also, I am wearing this bag right here on the back of my head because I'm conditioning my hair. So, if you wonder what the heck this thing is off the side of my head, that is a bag. I'm conditioning my hair currently. The FNAF plushies up here should tell you that yes, I'm a FNAF fan. I cosplay FNAF. I've been a long-time Five Nights at Freddy's fan ever since FNAF 1. Let's get into the review of the movie. I've seen it twice now, and I went back to watch certain different scenes on Peacock, so we're just going to jump right into it. So personally, I took my girlfriend night one on the 27th of October 2023 to go and watch the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. The hype was insane. I drove over there in the rain. It was nice and cold out. I was wearing my purple guy suit. I was wearing my security jacket, all my FNAF U2's pins, my security guard badge. It was great. The environment in the theater, unbeatable. It was fantastic. People were singing the Living Tombstones Five Nights at Freddy's songs. Lots of people. There were tons and tons. The theater was sold out. I'm so glad that I had ordered my tickets before, or else I would not have been able to see the movie that night. But the theater was sold out, and people were booing all, and I mean all of the movie trailers before the Five Nights at Freddy's one, because they would get so excited. They'd be like, oh my gosh, the movie's starting. And then it'd be just a movie trailer for one of Blumhouse's other properties, and they would boo it to heck and back. And they were just wanting to see the FNAF movie. They were so mad about anything that was keeping them from their beloved FNAF movie. So, yeah, people were excited. They were in the theater. They were hyped. The theater people had to come in and tell everyone to be quiet because everyone was screaming. And that is very poor theater etiquette. I will say there was mostly teenagers and some parents. I had a couple sit down next to me that were quite older. I do believe that they were film critics of some sort. They were going off and they had sketchbooks down, and they were going off and writing things in the dark theater. Don't know how they expected to do that, but they seemed like very, very cool, very generous people. They sat down next to us because we weren't screaming at the top of our lungs, being obnoxious, but they seemed to have a good time with the movie, and they knew nothing about FNAF. I went off and asked them, like, you guys have any experience with the franchise? Asked them if it was a good movie. They said, we enjoyed it, but we do not know what a Five Nights at Freddy's is. And, yeah, so I think they left happy, which is good. There were lots of younger kids, much younger than 13, I would say like 6, 7, and 8, bringing in their FNAF plushies, cosplaying. There was one little dude who was cosplaying as the Sun from Security Breach, and he had his massive Sun plushie with him, and I went off and asked him, I was like, yo dude, was that a good movie? And he was like, yes, it was awesome. And I was like, great dude, hope you had a good night. And he went home, and I went in seeing all these fans that were leaving the theater happy. I was wearing my purple guy uniform. One dude went off and commented on my uniform and was like, bro, that is, you got that FNAF drip on. Like, you're going to love this movie. And I'm like, thanks, bro. And they left happy, and lots of people were leaving very pleased. So I went in with a good attitude, very excited. I was shaking. I was so hyped for this movie. And the movie started with the kill of the security guard, and I was wondering what they were going to do with the Torture Freddy machine. I think that was one of the weaker parts, because it wasn't very well explained who put them there, or why it's there, or how is this even legally there. But it's just one of those horror movie things. It's kind of like a saw trap, so it's like, suspend your disbelief. It's like, okay, we're just gonna pretend that no one noticed that that's there. But whatever. So that's kind of one thing I thought was kind of weak. The saw trap. I thought that was kind of strange. Like, nobody notices this is here. It's just vibing, saw blades in the back. That okay, or the fact that they have a chair that looks like it could hold somebody down with the saw trap right over it. That seems safe. Super cool. Nothing weird going on there. I think that was one of the weaker parts of the movie, but I mean, it looked cool. So whatever. I think that was pretty weak. The scenes with Mike were pretty good. I think that Josh Hutcherson did a pretty good job acting. He had a lot of very strong emotion. He seemed very roughed up. I was really rooting for him in the movie, and he did very well, so good on Josh. Abby, even though I might not like the same narrative that they decided to take for the FNAF movie, Abby did really good too. Even though she is a child actress, she is very skilled, great line delivery, she was very believable, even if some of her dialogue was a little strange at times. She did a very good job as well. Steve Raglan, our killer, Mr. Afton, he wasn't in the movie very much. He was in for like probably 4 minutes, and that's probably about it. That's with us being generous. But the times where he was on screen, he stole the show. Other than maybe when he was being a career counselor, because that point I was like, okay, bud. The most that he did that I thought was like really leaning in was the point where he goes, Mike Schmidt. Like really leans in to look at him. I thought, okay, that's kind of cool. But Matthew Lillard did do a great job as Mr. Afton, and I hope to see more of him in the next movie, the prequel, if they go off and make a prequel. I hope that they do. To give us a little more context on Matthew Lillard's Afton, I'd like to see the abduction of Garrett and everything, so that way we can actually see the story take place instead of just, oh, hey, let's flash to this scene for like 5 seconds. I'd like to actually understand his motivation, because you didn't really get much other than the fact that he's just an evil man. That was really that was all that was given. That's all that we really needed for the first movie, but it just felt weak. So that's something that I also would like to critique, is that his motivations felt really not there. They were absent, and I didn't really understand his character at that point. Officer Vanessa, I don't really know how to feel about it. Mrs. Lale did a great job playing Vanessa. My girlfriend said she was very overdramatic, which, I mean, I went back for the second time. I watched it with some of my friends, and I would agree, except the fact that her character was very traumatized, and some of her dialogue was a little strange, but her character seems like she's very emotionally broken. She's broken in a different way that Mike's broken. Mike's broken in the fact that he's just a depressed dude with very few options and very, very poor mental health. And Vanessa just seems broken in a way where she has to follow her father's orders, but she also doesn't want to have to kill this guy, because that's what she was supposed to do if you listen to Afton's dialogue. Miss Lale did a great job playing Vanessa, but I will say she really controlled the scene, and the fact that she was a police officer felt very ham-fisted, because it's like she took so much of her time to sit down and talk to Mike and focusing on Freddy's whenever she should be doing her job. So it just felt a little strange. It's like, don't you have somewhere to be? Like, you're getting a call on your radio. Shouldn't you, like, go to the call? Like, you are a police officer, and here you are just on this guy's case 24/7. You need to go out and do your job, lady. But other than that, that felt very narratively weak, in my opinion. It's like, isn't she a cop? Shouldn't she be going and doing her job instead of just showing up every night for this guy's sake? But I guess, whatever. Other than that, I mean, the fact that she entered Freddy's when he's not supposed to let anybody in, but whatever. I guess we're just going to avoid that. On to the next part with Max and the crew. Basically, Max and the crew, her brother, everybody who broke in, Carl, Hank, they died. They died. Max, the twist where she was working with the ants was very very whack. I didn't see that coming, and I didn't really recognize it until like it was like, why don't you kill him? Like, and I was like, oh, so she's also working with the aunt who wants to take away Abby. It's like, okay, that's cool, I guess. She seems like she likes Mike a lot, but dang, nice to know she's a backstabber. Um, Not gonna lie, I thought there was gonna be a romance between Mike and Max. I just thought it was gonna happen, but nah, bro gets literally chomped in half by Freddy Fazbear, which I thought was so cool. That we get to see carnage to the point where Freddy literally bites a woman in half. That was one of my favorite scenes of the movie. I'm not gonna lie. Um, which yeah, they did a great job. Max did a great job. Everybody else did too in the gang. You know, Carl, Hank, everybody. Hank, I wish that we would have got to understand more with him. Because Carl and Hank just kind of came out of nowhere. It's like, how do you know these guys? Are they like your uncle or what? Are they your cousin? I wish that we could have knew where they came from and like build them up a little bit before you just shink. They're all dead. I wish that Hank would have put up a little more of a fight. Maybe make Foxy not have like rips in him, and then have Hank like slice a hole in him or something. Because Hank looked like a pretty beefy dude. He looked like he could have really put up a fight, but I guess seeing a guy's face get ripped off will kind of put a damper on your day. But they did a great job, even if they all were on screen for a solid, like, what, 6 minutes or so. Their death sequences were pretty cool, and they were great for the movie. Which brings me to the animatronics. The animatronics. Oh boy. Freddy Fazbear was great. They remagnified Freddy. This is going into the good things that I like about the good stuff here. Then I'll give my final thoughts. Freddy Fazbear was revitalized. He was seen as the big bad. He, out of all the animatronics, goes up to Mike and shows himself as a threat. He walks towards Mike with his heavy steps, and he gets real mad. And he looks like he's about to just smash Mike like a tin can between his fists and just absolutely destroy this guy. Which I really do like seeing Freddy get put back in the spotlight and showing Freddy as the threat that he is, which is pretty cool. Bonnie in this movie is very lovable. He's very funny with his little thumbs up that he gives. A little goofy, but fitting. I will say it's very fitting. Foxy, he's very tense. He was used a lot in this movie. But if I had to give an award to the animatronic that did the best in this movie, it's Chica. The puppeteer in Chica, as she was walking around, she was believable. She was very, very intriguing. She looked very angry half the time. She's very sassy. My girlfriend loved her, and I love Chica too. Chica, just like with Freddy, was put in a spotlight, and she was great. She stole the show. Animatronic Grammy goes to Chica. And the worst animatronic of the entire movie goes to Golden Freddy, because I was in a theater full of FNAF fans, and I mean, people were cosplaying and everything, and they dressed up for this, and half of them walked out like, where was Golden Freddy? Even though I knew it was Golden Freddy, no one else did. He was underutilized, and he was never even mentioned, but he was shown on screen. He killed the aunt, and yeah, it feels kind of strange because the kid who possesses Freddy popped out of Golden Freddy's chest and was like, not Freddy. So it's kind of weird. They kind of made it seem like Freddy can just turn into Golden Freddy whenever he wants to. That was quite odd, I will say. Cool that he's in the movie. Just sucks that we didn't get like a mention of Fredbear's Family Diner or anything. And then that brings us to Spring Bonnie, who was utilized by William Afton, or the Yellow Rabbit, as he's known as in the captions. The voice filter that they put for Afton's voice when he's wearing the Spring Bonnie suit was rather odd. He's like, "Wake up, children! I have something for you to play with. This is gonna be so much fun." What? That was like the most, like, if I had to choose one line that I just really didn't like, it's whenever Spring Bonnie says, "This is gonna be so much fun. Fun." It's just weird, but I guess it does make sense that the voices will have a filter on inside the animatronics. So that way, if you're like a deep, gravelly man voice and you're talking through, you're not going to scare off the children. But it would have been cool to see a Fredbear's Family Diner flashback or something, just a little something like a poster, something in the garbage. I don't know. It's cool that we got to see both animatronics, but I wish that there was some references to Fredbear's Family Diner other than the animatronic suits. But yeah, it was pretty cool. YouTuber cameos, lots of fan service, lots of cool characters popping up. We got Matt Pat, we got Corey Kenshin, we got Daco, we got Raz, we got the Ryans. Cool stuff. Just wish that we could have got more like roles, like they could have been part of the crew. Like imagine if we would have got Daco in the background being a janitor, while the Freddy's guide was going off and like telling you. That would have been cool. But it was kind of cool that they went off and put Daco in the picture frame. That was nice. Yeah, I think that would have been really neat. But one thing I really wish that they would have done is instead of making William phone guy, maybe bring back Scott and make Scott that security guard that we get to go off and watch be brutalized. I mean, that's kind of evil sounding, but like I wish that Scott himself could have been in this movie as the phone guy, because watching that guy, watching the real phone guy, the Scott Cawthon, like imagine listening to him give his FNAF 1 phone call as he's barricading the door, or as he's trying to unscrew the vent, or something of that nature. That would have been absolutely the best. That would have been so cool as a FNAF fan. I would have loved to see it. I hope that Scott, or maybe his son or somebody, comes back for the sequel and they are in this movie. I would hope. That would be super cool. Now let's get down to the synopsis of what I really thought. Personally, this is a Five Nights at Freddy's movie that feels unattached to the rest of the series. It feels like it takes the FNAF 1 story, rips the story out of it, and just uses the idea, the shell of the haunted animatronics, the murders, and such, and then just slaps a new coat of paint on it, with the story being that broke guy wants to help save his sister, so that way he can go off and retain custody, because the aunt is mean, and then she gets knocked off by the animatronics, and then they live happily ever after. Yay! It just doesn't feel like a Five Nights at Freddy's movie. We didn't really see much of the sit and survive style gameplay where he's trying to keep the animatronics out. It's just, it's a Five Nights at Freddy's movie for certain, but it kind of doesn't really play into the gameplay that we see in those games. And I kind of think that's a shame. It's lacking. The feel of Five Nights at Freddy's is there, but it's lacking why. Like, why is this a FNAF movie if it's not gonna embrace it more? I mean, the animatronics definitely are tangible, they're great, they're there, but it doesn't embrace the games as much as I wish that they would have, and that I think is my biggest critique, is because even though it's a great movie, as a fan, it feels like if I didn't know what a Freddy Fazbear was, I would come into this movie, my expectations would be like, oh, I've heard so much about Five Nights at Freddy's, like, oh man, I hope this is going to be a good movie, and then you just kind of get confused. There's only so many times I can watch a dream sequence and think, man, this is cool. I really want to watch that again. It's kind of confusing. If you don't know child abduction stuff, like from the games, it's kind of like, unless you're really paying attention to the post, like pre-movie, like intro and stuff, you're not gonna really know what's going on. It's like, okay, and then you just get a guy that gets name dropped and killed off within the same like 10 minutes, and it's kind of like, oh, okay, so you're telling me this guy kidnapped this dude's brother in Nebraska, and somehow he's also over here, and then somehow that's also attached to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, who also just so happens to be his career counselor, who also just so happens to have made this kid work here just so that way he can kill him later on after his daughter already spoiled the fact that he's the child killer. And then they kill him in a Springlock suit where the cupcake attacks his body, and Springlocks go off, and the building falls down, and everyone on the main crew that we're supposed to be rooting for lives, and it's kind of, the story's, I mean, it works, it's cool, it just doesn't feel like it embraces Five Nights at Freddy's enough. If it would have been Mike trying to make make it out alive in the pizzeria after, he goes to his job, and we just see the animatronics move before he figures out that they're haunted. That would have been better than nothing. Um, I mean, we didn't really need to see like tons of the same movements coming on, Foxy, whatever. It would have been cool to just have it embrace the gameplay more. I think that's my biggest critique. But I did enjoy the movie. I will say that even though I wish it could have took a more Five Nights at Freddy's-esque approach, it's still not a bad FNAF movie. As a fan, but as someone who wasn't a fan, I would go off and say, even though they seem to enjoy it too, I think that they enjoyed the fact that there's Freddy Fazbear on the screen, and man, he just killed a person, and that's really all they need. They didn't really need a compelling story, they just needed to see their favorite characters on screen, and that's about it. But as someone who wasn't attached to the franchise, I would say it kind of is narratively lost, and it has a lot of, like, gaping plot holes that are kind of a problem. Let's just to spitball here. Let's see, the aunt was left on the floor dead. We never know what happens to her body, but yeah, we're just supposed to. She just poofed. She's just gone. No one ever hears from her again. Mike and Abby just go back to their house and pretend she's not there. Maybe she's still there to this day. We'll never know. But I did really enjoy this movie, even though I will say it's a great movie with holes in the plot. Some of the dialogue was great. A lot of the actors were fantastic. Wish that we could get like Scott himself to be in the movie. I think that would be cool. It would cement his place in the as the phone guy. That would be great. Anyway, guys, I'm looking forward to the sequel. I hope that this didn't damper your mood on the FNAF movie. I'm not going to let anybody else's opinions damper my mood, because I know how I feel, and I loved the movie. Even though I can also still say it has some problems. And critic reviews, they're paid to review movies. You don't have to feel like everyone has to agree with you in order to say, I like a movie even if you think it's bad. And I like this movie even though a lot of people think it's bad. And even though I can say there's some things about it that are bad. I don't care. I still enjoyed it. I had a great time, and you know what? I would pay 3 times the amount of money that I paid for those tickets to go and watch it. Again, I love that movie. I'm going to buy it when it comes out on DVD. I'm going to buy the collector's edition, which is going to have all the deleted scenes and stuff, which is going to be cool. And yeah, I love the movie. I'm also a FNAF fan, so take my opinion with a grain of salt. Hope you guys liked the movie. Let me know what you guys thought of the animatronics. What was your favorite kill? What was your favorite scene? What was your favorite line of dialogue? And then also give me your least favorite one of those things. Peace out, guys. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching. Bye.